All right, we've got two voices on this story. First up, Alon Pinkas, who's a former Israeli ambassador. He's in Tel Aviv. But first, let's speak to Hassan Barari, Professor of International Affairs at Qatar University, standing by for us in Jordan's capital of Amman. And Hassan, as we know, it is absolutely not the first time that a hospital has been targeted by the Israelis, but this has had particularly devastating consequences.
It is indeed, Nick. It is not the first time that the Israelis have been targeting all the medical infrastructures in Gaza. You know, from day one, they've been doing this on a systematic way. And the objective is very clear. They want to make life unbearable for the Palestinians, hoping that they will leave Gaza. But I think this strategy has failed. It didn't pay off the way that Israelis have planned. And they continue. Now, what happens in the north of Gaza, particularly in Kamal Adwan Hospital, the Israelis want to drive the Palestinians out of the north. They have made this publicly obvious in their statements that they want them to go somewhere else. And as you know, there are a lot of Israelis right-wing who even held the conference asking to resettle the north of Gaza. So if you want to resettle the north of Gaza, it means that you need to depopulate this. And I think this attack should be understood against this backdrop.
Indeed. So Alon Pinkas, there is a difference, isn't there, between the motivation for attacks like this and the reason, in fact, why Israel is doing it?
Well, yeah, absolutely, Nick. There seems to be a difference, at least ostensibly there is a difference, in that the military is saying that these operations are tactical, they are surgical, they are intelligence-driven, and the objective is to get to Hamas members, terrorists, militants, call them what you want, who are hiding in that hospital. Yes, there is a broader context, as Hassan correctly pointed out. We can argue whether or not this is a plan or this is circumstantial. But the fact of the matter remains that since the war began in the aftermath of the Hamas attack on October 7th, 2023, there have been repeated Israeli attacks on Palestinian hospitals in the Gaza Strip, Shifa and the Indonesian, and now this one. And you know, the military could say all it wants about intelligence-driven surgical. I happen to think that no matter who's in the hospitals, no matter who's hiding in the hospitals, no matter what is stashed in the hospitals, hospitals should be off bounds. Mm-hmm. And hospitals should not be attacked, no matter the circumstances. But apparently the government thinks differently.
And Hassan, what are attacks like this doing to Gaza's ability to offer healthcare to its people, especially given the dire circumstances of the current situation?
Well, Nick, first of all, I think this makes them even weaker, and they lose hope as the international community is complicit with whatever Israel has been doing. Granted that there's a difference between this attack, whether this attack is driven by the security concerns, or they say in Hebrew, bitchonist. This is not even bitchonist or even security driven. It's ideological driven. They want to change the reality in the ground. So the Palestinians are getting weaker and weaker, and hoping that, you know, maybe a ceasefire would get them off the hook. But this is really easier said than done. It is obvious that Netanyahu is not interested even in a ceasefire, given that Hamas has conceded on so many points that Netanyahu insisted at the very beginning. So I think this will drive the Palestinians to despair, and maybe they will resort to maybe a more deadly and lethal tactics like suicide bombing. And we've seen such a thing. So this is not good for everyone, I think.
Do you agree with Hassan, Alon Pinkas, that the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is reluctant, is reticent to go for a ceasefire for his own interest?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, I obviously agree with Hassan, but secondly, the evidence and the reality proves that he's right, and that you're right, and then that I'm right. This has been going on since October 7th, 2023. All achievable or attainable military goals, short of occupying the entire Gaza Strip, which is something that Israel has no intention of doing, short of that, all military objectives have been sufficiently achieved. Hamas has been severely degraded. And the big question that neither Hassan or I alluded to in our conversation, Nick, is how this could affect and how this could be extended into the West Bank. I think that Hassan, excuse me for speaking on his behalf, I think that Hassan may have hinted to it when he spoke about despair and resort to suicide bombings that will probably originate in the West Bank if it happens. And so this has a devastating escalatory mechanism built in it, the actual protracting and prolonging of the war.
All right, Alon, thanks for that. Alon Pinkas, former Israeli ambassador, and indeed to Hassan Barari. Thank you to you, Professor of International Affairs at Qatar University. Thanks very much indeed.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.